Hey, it's me. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Paul Leslie Hour. Welcome to it. For those who want to support the show, you can go to thepaulleslie.com. We got lots of stuff for you. There's also a button that says support the show. You can click there, make a contribution via PayPal. Terrance Simien is here. He's someone I have wanted to talk to for a long time. He makes beautiful, joyous music. He's had more than 35 years' experience. That's over 8,500 shows in more than 45 countries. He is a Grammy Award winner. Terrance Simien of the Zydeco Experience. They got a new album out. It's called Ancestral Grooves. Mr. Simeon, thank you so much for being here.
Paul, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for having me. Um, yeah, man, it's good to be here.
Well, it's an honor. I have to say, I'm a little late, and here's why. A guy that you know and a guy who passed away not long ago, Bob Vernon, he was telling me all the time because he knew how much Louisiana music means to me. He was always saying, "Man, you got to get Terrance Simeon. If we can get you and Terrance Simeon, you all will have a lot to talk about." So it's become a reality now.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah. Thank you, Bob, up in heaven.
Yeah.
Well, I want to start off kind of personal. It's been kind of a hectic day. I've been running around, and there's been some really good things that have happened today, but also a lot of stressful things over the past couple of days. But then I started playing your music. I started listening to your music, and it wasn't even like a conscious thing. Like I realized I just felt my knees starting to move. And
Yeah.
then I started to feel my boots just stomping up and down. And then before I knew it, I thought, I don't have any more stress.
Oh man.
You hear that all the time.
Every now and then I'll hear that, not quite as nice as you just put it, but yeah, this music, man. When you think back of Zydeco music and what it had to do throughout time, the Creoles been in South Louisiana for over 300 years and had to endure, some pretty serious obstacles, to put it lightly. The Creoles, had to find a music that could make them, get them through slavery, Jim Crow, and whatever else the establishment could throw at us. You know what I'm saying? And Zydeco music do it. It do it for a lot of people. It do it for the Creoles, and it do it for a lot of people. We've been traveling outside of Louisiana. I've been traveling with my band outside of Louisiana since 1985, and there's no place we go where people don't, immediately when they hear Zydeco music and they see the band with an accordion and a frottoir, um, they immediately put a smile on their face, if
Mm-hmm.
you've seen it for the first time. It's got some powerful joy. It's got some serious medicine that can unplug you and reboot you and get you ready to deal with whatever you got to deal with and know that at the end of it, you're going to be all right.
Hmm.
That's what the music do. And the Creoles, we've been using this music as, for that, for, like I said, since over 300 years now, we've been in Louisiana, and our music has always been a big part of our way of life. And it's what's kept us going, and it's what keep us going.
Nicely put. Well, as you said, you have been doing this a long time, but then the history of this music, it goes way back. And you are not only a musician, but a music historian, a music educator. And for everybody out there, Zydeco is something you can hear just a few seconds of it and you know that it's Zydeco. But how would you put it into words? What is Zydeco?
Well, first of all, Zydeco music is the music of the Creoles of South Louisiana. And throughout time, our Creole music, just like all styles of music, has evolved and expanded. You know, the earliest form of our Creole music was a style called the jure. Now the jure was just basic voices, clapping of the hands and stomping of the feet. You had rhythm, you had melodies, and all the songs were sung in French, in Creole French. And from the jure, it evolved when instruments like the accordion, violins, washboards, triangles, acoustic guitars, all sorts of other instruments made their way into the music by musicians here in South Louisiana. And then once the sound turned electrified, like when Clifton Chenier came on the scene, the sounds of that time, which was the 40s and 50s and 60s, Clifton Chenier fused and other Zydeco artists of his time fused early rock and roll, blues, and jazz into the traditional Creole Louisiana French songs. And then it evolved. It's still evolving. You know, we added our own flavor to the music. We were the first Zydeco band to fuse reggae, to fuse New Orleans second line, and we were also one of the first Zydeco bands to use harmonies, you know, with multiple voices. And so, you know, now the younger generation is fusing things like hip hop and rap and sounds of today into the music. But it's still just as much Zydeco as it was from the beginning. And the one thing about our music that is the most traditional that I tell everybody is that it evolves. That's a tradition that keeps the music alive and well. And if it wouldn't evolve, it would not be here with us today. If it would have stopped at any time in that process, like from the Jure to Amade to Clifton Chenier to where it is today. If there would have been any point where it would have just stopped and start sounding the same, then I don't think we'd be talking about Zydeco music today.
What would you say is the most important Zydeco song of all time?
That would be a hard one. That would be a hard one because Amade Ordway wrote some incredible songs. And before Amade, there was some songs written by people we don't even know their names because it was traditional jure songs. The jure from the jure like Zydeco Sont Pas Salés, the prison blues, the bars, the prison bars. All these old songs that kind of made that got reinvented throughout time and is still there. So it's hard to pick one particular song. And then you had Rockin' Sydney in the 80s had a song called Don't Mess With My Tutu, which ended up being, a big worldwide hit. And you also had a song by Clifton Chenier, well, that he wrote he actually, I found out it was a cover of a Professor Longhair song called Hey Teet Fee. But in the 50s, Clifton Chenier had a hit with Hey Teet Fee. And also, you have Clarence Garlow, okay? Bon Temps Roulé. That song was a hit in 1950, just when the whole radio and pop music thing was just getting started. Rock and roll was just getting started. And here you have Clarence Gallo, we call him. He was a Creole talking about the church bazaar, the baseball game, the French la la. It's all the same. If you want to have some fun, you got to go out in the country to the Zydeco. I mean, he said those words. He recorded that song in 1949, and there's all these references to Louisiana. This was actually recorded before Hank Williams recorded Jambalaya,
Mm-hmm.
which is a famous song that, one of the first songs that, talked about Louisiana and Louisiana culture and stuff like that. But Clarence Garlow actually did that, hit that song, Bon Temps Roulé, before Jambalaya. So it's so many songs in Zydeco music that just, um, did that thing to spread the joy, and to spread the good news of the music.
Nice, nice. Well, speaking of nice things, I was talking about this new album that you have, Ancestral Grooves. Everybody needs to check it out. And in fact, we got Christmas coming right up, and you're going to really put a smile on people's face if you send them this or maybe get it for yourself. What does that mean, Ancestral Grooves? Tell us
Well,
about it.
it's just another tribute we doing to our ancestors. I can't thank my ancestors enough for giving this wonderful gift of music that we are able to, you know, perform and share with the world, and make a living at it. I mean, it's the most incredible gift that our ancestors have given us here in Louisiana. When it comes to Zydeco music and our second line brass band music and all the traditional musics that come out of Louisiana. And it's all a gift. It's all a gift. And I can't remind people enough that it would these gifts, we wouldn't be enjoying them so much if it wouldn't be possible made possible if it wasn't for our ancestors who played this music and who had to sacrifice to play this music. I mean, there's some stories about, back in the time of Jim Crow when things was, really bad for, people of color down here in Louisiana. And, some of the stories some of our ancestors told me, you know what I'm saying? My ancestors, some of the older musicians talked about some of those struggles, and how much better it is now for us. We don't have to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? And they made that possible. So I'll forever be grateful and thankful to my ancestors that gave us this wonderful gift and brought it forth through some difficult times and never let it stop them. They persevered and kept the music alive and well so that generations after generations can continue with the music.
One of the songs on there, it's I don't know how you would say it, maybe an homage, a tribute to some of the people that
Yeah.
have passed away, like Art Neville, uh, Mac Rebenak, better known as Dr. John. Tell us about that song.
Well, it was last year that we lost Dr. John and Art Neville and Alan Toussaint not that long before that. And these three amazing individuals, I grew up listening to that music and never could imagine ever coming in contact with him on sort of in any sort of situation. I actually ended up recording with Art Neville for the first time when we did the work on the movie The Big Easy, and that's when I first met Art Neville in 1986. And he was just the coolest cat I had ever met. And he looked like me. He looked like one of my uncles or cousins. And to meet somebody that looked like me, in that way. I mean, he was a much better looking guy than me, but he looked like we could be family. And to hear him play and to hear his genius, and to say, oh man, this cat and just Art was the coolest of the cool. All right. And that could be said the same about Dr. John and also Alan Toussaint, who I also had a chance to record with Dr. John. I had a chance to do gigs with Alan Toussaint, do gigs with Dr. John and Art, and those guys, man, they took me under that wing. Every chance they got to give me some good advice and to give me some encouragement on on in with what I was doing. I mean, it was just words can't describe how lucky I was to have been mentored by these three great individuals who are not only just great musical artists, but also great people, good people, man, that would reach out. And they didn't just do that for me. They did that, I think, for just about every young artist that they met. And I just really, thought it was fitting to do something on this record. Well, since we're honoring our ancestors and these amazing friends that I was lucky enough to call friends had just passed away, that it was a perfect way to close the record by doing a medley in honor of them and their music.
This is probably a hard question, but from the album Ancestral Grooves, could you possibly pick what you think is the knockout track?
No, I tell you what, this record was such a joy for me because I ended up, it wasn't a record that was just me and my band, it was with the collaboration with so many great artists, first to start off with James Andrews and his bandmates, and Keith Frank and his bandmates, and also guests like Ann Harris on violin, George Rosselli on drum, well, on percussions, and all the guys in my band, and also a couple of other guest artists, Dexter Ordwin, Shelton Saunier, Jose Alvarez. I mean, I like each song. Each song's got its own thing, and my daughter Marcella joining and singing on some of them, and just it was just a joy to make this record. And it was difficult because of the pandemic. We had to Normally we'd record everything in one studio. We had to record in 7 different studios to make this happen. And thank God, for the technology that we have today. It's not it made it easy to do, but at the same time, it was a challenge. It was a challenge, and but we were able to get it all done, and I'm so proud of how it all came out. It was a true group effort from all of my friends and family that's on the record, and I still like listening to it. After I do a record, you listen for months at a time, and until you finally let it go. But and usually after that, I don't want to hear it. But I'm still tune in from time to time and listen to it and enjoy listening to it.
Well, you mentioned all these great musicians that you worked with on this album, and you've mentioned a few of the great musicians that you had a chance to meet. But there's one name in particular that I'm very curious to ask you about. He is my favorite drummer. I mean, he's just incredible. I've listened to him. I've been listening to him on records, and then when I finally saw he was drumming behind a guy named Bob Dylan, and I thought, wow, he is awesome. George Rosselli. Tell us about George.
Well, I've been knowing George for over 30 years. And he's from Louisiana. He's from Hammond, Louisiana. And he was in a Zydeco band um, that was based out of New York City called Lugaroo. And this was in the 80s through the 90s, early 90s. We used to, you know, meet up in New York City and jam at places like Tramps and the Gulf Coast, the Lone Star Cafe, all these cool music venues that was, in New York at the time. And I just, kept in touch with George, and George is like you said, man, he's one of the greatest drummers ever. And he had that natural feel. Whenever anything he plays, he captures that natural feel. And Zydeco is not an exception. Zydeco, I mean, George can play Zydeco like anybody. I mean, and he's a local Louisiana man, and the stuff I seen him do with Bob Dylan was just so amazing. You know, the last concert I seen him with Bob Dylan, they were performing at the Hyman Center here in Lafayette, and I said, okay, I love Dylan. I'm a big fan, and I've seen him a few times, but on this particular concert, I'm gonna focus just on what George is doing. And man, it blew my mind. The stuff that he was doing, man. You know, you every song he was doing so many different things, man. And just after the show, I told him, man, dude, hail high priest, bro. You the baddest of the bad, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there have been quite a few legendary people that you've had a chance to get to know, record with, share the stage with. I'm hoping you can tell us about how you came to cross paths with Paul Simon.
Yeah, yeah, man, that was pretty much luck. I was just starting my band. Well, I'd been playing for 4 years, and we were the young hot Zydeco band, at the time, and Paul Simon was coming to Louisiana to research Zydeco music for Graceland. He was gonna have a Zydeco song on Graceland, but he didn't know what band he wanted to use. So three of us went in the studio with Paul on separate sessions. My band was one, Buckwheat Zydeco was the other, and Rockin' Doopsie Senior was the third band. And Dickie Landry, who's a local, a saxophonist. He's from Lafayette, Louisiana, but Dickie was lived in New York for you know 20 some odd years, and he played avant-garde music with. He was one of the founding members of Philip Glass's band. Played with Philip Glass and Laurie Anderson, avant-garde stuff, and he also did a tour with I forgot. He played with a lot of people, and he did a show with Clifton Chenier at Carnegie Hall. It was Clifton Chenier, um, Clifton Chenier, Muddy Waters, and John Lee Hooker at Carnegie Hall, and he put the show together. And Paul Simon came to the show, and he was talking about how he wanted to, do a record with Clifton, um, and wanted Clifton to be. He wrote the song "If I Was Your Mother" for Clifton Chenier, so he wanted Clifton Chenier on the record. Well, the time he came down to Louisiana to record, Clifton was really sick and in the hospital, and couldn't. He was getting a leg amputated, I think. Couldn't do the session, so he listened to Buckwheat and my band and Rockin' Doopsie Senior, and ended up using Rockin' Doopsie Senior on the record. But we did a 12-hour session, and I did a song, a Clifton Chenier song, "You Used to Call Me." And Paul Simon liked the song so much that he went in the booth and put like 4-part harmonies, those beautiful Simon and Garfunkel sounding harmonies, and on this waltz. And we put it out as a single on a 45 in 1985. And yeah, Paul gave us that to put out to help our career so we could get on the road and start jamming, and it did that. It got us out on the road, and since 1985 I've been a road band. I've been a road Zydeco band, traveling all over the world, and it's been the best experience of my life.
People who really, really love music are familiar with these two words, Los Lobos.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. My brothers, man, I love Los Lobos, man. One of the greatest bands in America. And I had the privilege to tour with them back when La Bamba was number one on the charts. We were the opening act for Los Lobos when that was happening, and it was such a magical time, man. I mean, those guys. You want to talk about gracious and just first class. You can't find more gracious first class cats than Dave and the gang. And we've kept in touch. We we're gonna be friends forever. But I just have the highest honor and respect for those guys and love them to death. And we I did a song with Dave. We went to Cuba, and I had the privilege of meeting a Cuban artist named Jose Luis, and Jose Luis um, writes a lot of songs. Well, a great songwriter from Cuba, and he said, he it would be a dream for him to have a band from the U.S. cover one of his songs. And I said, well, let's see what we can do about that. So I got together with my friend David Hidalgo and asked him to sing on this song. We did it as a duet, and we got a chance to record together. And yeah, man, Dave is the best.
Great stories. One of the pictures that people can find on the Terrance Simeon website, which they're recommended to go check that out, terrancesimeon.com. There's a picture of you with Fats Domino.
Yeah, man. Ooh. Yeah, man. When I was, um, let's see, I think it was 1987 was the year. Um, I was asked to go on a trip to tour with Fats Domino in Switzerland.
Whoa.
And yeah, this came from the people at the Jazz and Heritage Foundation, and they were help organizing the tour. And I got a chance to open up for Fats Domino, and also Sarah Vaughan was on a couple of shows with us. And one of the shows we did was the Montreux Jazz Fest, and it was my band and Sarah Vaughan and Fats Domino, and Fats was just an amazing cat, man. I mean, just he was still in his prime. He was playing. This was 87, man. Playing, moving his piano around while he was playing, bro. And just totally, uh, totally vintage Fats, man. He was there, man. He was there. And one of the funniest things, man, he cooked. We stayed at this fancy hotel, 4 5 star hotel in Bern, Switzerland. And man, I started, got out, walked out my room one day, and down the hall I smelled this aroma that smelled like, it didn't smell like Switzerland cooking. It smelled like Louisiana cooking. And I'm like, man, where that's coming from? And then I walked down the hall and the door was open. And Fats was in there cooking. And he saw me. And he said, he'd call me écrevisse, which means crawfish in French. And he also would call me country. And he said, he saw me coming, hey, country, come here. He said, Casey, tell me what that means. Tell me what that means. So he gave me a taste of his red beans, bro. Best red beans I ever had in my life, probably. I'll never have red beans better than that. And he served me a little plate and he said, nah, man, don't tell nobody now. Don't tell nobody, man. I'll give you some, but don't tell them I got that, man. They'll come eat all my stuff. But yeah, man, that was one of those memories I'll never forget with Fats, man. And he was awesome, man. He spoke French, he was Creole. Fats spoke French fluently. A lot of people don't know that. And just what an amazing experience, just hanging out with Fats Domino and all the guys in his band. Smokey Johnson was playing drums at the time. Reggie Houston on saxophone, and I mean, he just had a killer band. Frog was on guitar. Man, this is a few years ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday.
Well, you touched on something important here, and I can't resist if somebody is from Louisiana. I mean, I remember one time I was backstage and I got to do a little interview with Dr. John, and I asked him what he liked to eat. And he said, I'll never forget this. He said, I like squirrels, man. It just cracked me up. But Terrence, what is your all-time favorite meal?
Anything that's hot and good.
Hot and good, you said?
Yeah, anything that's hot and good. No, I have so many different preferences. I mean, for food, because once upon a time, I was just into Louisiana cooking,
Hmm.
and I started traveling, and came across some pretty good stuff that wasn't Louisiana. And so I love me some good barbecue, man. I love some good sushi. I love some good Thai food, good Mexican food. I love good Chinese food. I mean, Indian food. I love it all. And that's why I'm the size I am. I try to lose weight, but it's just futile. It's not gonna happen because I love to eat more than I like to lose weight. So I'm gonna be what I be.
I
But
like
man,
that.
but man, I tell you what, it's a lot of good food here in Louisiana. But yeah, Louisiana's not the only place, man. It's all over. The good Italian food. Oh my God, man. I mean, I remember eating some stuff in Italy that was just amazing. Uh, yeah, it's. I wish I had just one thing. Maybe I might be a little smaller.
What you were saying reminded me of a lyric from a Sauce Boss song. The song Great Big Fanny, it's got the line that I think of every time I overdo it. I can't help it, gonna be a bad boy.
That's a good line, man. That's a good line.
Yeah, the next side of that is too much fun and too much joy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, on that note, when somebody goes to a Terrance Simeon and the Zydeco Experience show, what do you hope, or when they listen to one of the records, what do you hope that the listener gets from that experience?
I hope they enjoy it, and I hope it helps them, tune into something that's gonna put a smile on their face, and make them forget about whatever worries is on their mind, and just think about good times and good food and whatever good. Just think about good times and good things. Um, I, music is something that it does something different for everybody. I've had so many people after a show come up to me and tell me so many different things, that the music did for them, and I guess hopefully it gives you what it you need at the time you need
Hmm.
it, the most. And I don't know. It's it's made me a lot of things that people have told me that they got from the music made me really understand that it's way more powerful and way more bigger than me. You know what I'm saying? And I can't do it by myself. Definitely, you're gonna hear me with my band, and if collectively we create the sound. We create the we create the moment and the sound, and I can't do it without them. And so we all in there having a good time. I'm enjoying the fact whenever we have a good show and everybody's clicking, and everybody on stage is feeling each other right. That happens just about all the time, but not all the time. Okay. And but when the band is feeling good and the crowd is into it and they feeling good, everybody leave happy. And then you got these occasions where people, you know, they'll like hang around after, because they don't want to leave. you know and for me, that's when I really feel good about what we were able to do. I mean, we did a few shows this past summer. One that I can remember was in Carson City, Nevada. And I can remember, the show was over with, and you still had like 300-400 people out there just hanging out. And and it was like I was thinking, yeah, they They this was a good one.
Yeah. Well, on the note of good things, what is the best thing about being Terrence Simeon?
Well, I tell you what, man, everything about being me is pure luck. Pure luck, man. First, I came into this world with two great parents. My mom and dad loved me to death, gave me everything they had, and then some. And my dad passed away last year. My mom passed away 7 years ago, and but they still that spirit will always be with me, and that love will always be with me. And then I met this beautiful woman who I've been married to for 30 years, Cynthia Simeon, and that's that. I mean, it just went from good to better, good to great to better. Then we had this wonderful child, Marcella Simeon, our daughter, and she's also a musician, and we get to do shows together and record together, which is something I never expected to happen, and it's the most beautiful thing for me to see my daughter wanting to do what I done, and doing her own thing and doing it so much better than I can do it. I'm definitely a proud papa when it comes to that. And then I got the guys in my band like Danny Williams, who we've been together 30 years, and Stan Chambers and um, Lance Ellis and Ian MT and Curtis Watson and all of us, man, and all the guys that been through my band throughout the years, I've been very lucky. I've been very, very fortunate, On top of working hard, I do work, I drive 50,000 miles a year for the past 35 years and
Ooh.
fly and all that, do most of the driving myself, which I like driving, it's not a big deal. And but it don't seem like like work when you got good people around you and you got the support from your family, and it's just you got all these beautiful people that's out there, our friends who've been supporting our music, and I mean supporting our music, for all these years. I mean, all that combined, man, I'm the luckiest man on the planet,
Hmm. Well, I always like to end the show. I always like to have the guest imagine that they're on stage because, in a lot of ways, this show is like a stage. And you've taken the stage a lot of times in your life. But for anybody who is tuned into this broadcast, the sky's the limit. You can say whatever you want. What would you say to those folks who are watching us?
I say don't settle. If you have a dream, pursue it. If it can happen for me, it can happen for anybody. You know, and be patient because dreams don't just come true overnight. Some dreams take a long time to come true. But if you're patient and you give it your best, not your all, you're just your best. It can happen. And just don't. Life is too short for you to compromise or settle. Don't settle. Go big, dream big, and go for it. And buy a record.
Buy a record. That's right.
Support a musician.
And tell the people who are watching or listening what's the website and spell your name so that they get it down pat.
You got it. Okay, my name is Terrance, Terrance Simeon, Simien, and it's T
No,
TerranceSimeon.com.
That's our website.
That's our website. Yeah,
That's
that's our
right.
website. I was gonna give you my email.
We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Yeah.
And I should tell all the people out there That voice is Cynthia.
Yeah. My lady, my woman, my wife, my manager, and my agent. And my publicist. She's everything.
You are in good hands, sir.
Oh yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on my show. This has been a dose of joy. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Paul, right back at you, man. You know, I had this the first time I went so long without performing, and I really felt like I was performing on your show. And you asked great questions, and it really this interview flowed so well. They don't always do that, and it's because of you, Paul, man. Thank you so much, brother. Thanks for having me.
Now, one more thing. Would you sing one line from one of your songs? Just one.
Okay, let me see. Oh, you put me on the spot.
That's what I do.
Yeah, let's see if I can do this. I'm not warmed up. I'm a little hoarse, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. La premier ton Dieu d'abusement a tombé. Et la premier la tendu la voix a tombé. Oh, oh, a tombé, a tombé amour encore. Tombe amor encore. A tombe amor encore. Tombe amor encore. Mo tombe amor encore. That means I fell in love again because I just seen my beautiful wife in the corner of my eye.
Wonderful. Well, folks, thanks so much.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
A pleasure.